Welcome to another episode of Paramedic Pearls. Today we're going to talk about good quality CPR. So good quality CPR has three components. It's compressing at the right depth, the right rate, and minimizing interruptions. So what is the right depth? It's between 2 and 2.4 inches. So we noticed when we looked at our data that our compressions tend to be too shallow. So what we did this year is we turned on the Zoll voice prompts. So if your compressions are too shallow, the machine should prompt you to push harder.
Push harder. Push harder.
Now what is the right rate? The right rate is between 100 and 120 compressions per minute. And we looked at the same data set, our compressions tend to be too fast. So we turn on the Zoll metronome so that when you working up a cardiac arrest, the machine should be beeping at a rate of 100 beeps per minute.
Good compressions.
So it's incumbent upon us, since a lot of times our private ambulance EMTs do our CPR for us, that we're guiding them. We're letting them see the screen on the Zoll, which will guide them about the depth of each compression. And we tell them to compress at the rate of the metronome, and if they're deviating from it, to correct them. Now, in terms of the rate, I was taught to do CPR to staying alive. But as much as I hate to say it to all of you folks out there that are getting older like I am, the current generation doesn't really know staying alive very well. So if you go to Google, you can find a whole list of songs from all genres of music that have a beat between 100 and 120 per minute, and they can compress to whatever they want, Justin Bieber, whatever, as long as they get the right rate, it's fine by me. Now the last thing is we want to minimize interruptions in CPR. And there are really 4 different times that we interrupt CPR. One is to intubate. And because of that, we have discouraged intubation until after ROSC. Study after study showed that the interruptions were significant. So don't intubate until after ROSC. Number 2 is to do pulse checks. When you're doing a pulse check, make sure you keep it to less than 10 seconds. And if you look at the monitor and the patient's in V-fib or asystole, there's no reason to do a pulse check because they don't have a pulse. Go ahead and continue your CPR. The third one is around shocks. So I was trained that you pause CPR to charge the machine, deliver shock, and then recheck the rhythm, but that's out. We want to sandwich every shock with compressions on either end of it. So compressions should continue during the charging phase, and as soon as the shock is delivered, we should be right back down on that chest with no delays. The last one is we tend to delay around changing compressors. And I am a believer that we should be changing compressors at the end of every cycle, because when you have compressors that get even a little bit tired, the quality of the compressions drops. But we need to choreograph this a little bit better. So this fall on our EMT skills, we're going to practice something called pit crew style CPR. So we should be much more practiced and much quicker and more organized when we change compressors. So thank you for joining us again for another episode, and I will see you next time.